best part about being a pilot is having friends who are pilots, especially when they lend you their airplanes. So when my friend Jay called early one morning to ask if I would fly his plane from Salt Lake to Boise for him, I squealed like a little girl, grabbed my flight bag, packed a quick lunch, and drove straight out to the airport. I was in such a rush that my eclectic lunch was a thermos of milk, a box of crackers, and a can of tuna. Now Jay owns a beautiful red biplane he calls Houston, and if you didn't know it, pilots name their planes so that we can talk to them. Well, we flew north out of Salt Lake International Airport, and after a few moments, I heard the tower say, "You've cleared controlled airspace. Radar support is discontinued. Have a great day." I smiled because this meant no one was watching, so I started doing loops and rolls, imagining I was in a dogfight like Eddie Rickenbacker, the famous World War I ace. Oh, I could have done that all day, but looking at the fuel, I had to get back on course. As we continued north, Houston bumped around a lot in the turbulence because it was a hot day. In pilot speak, rising hot air is called a thermal, and it literally is a gigantic bubble of rising air. Generally, they're not too bad unless you're in a small plane like Houston where you have to ride up one side and down the other like being on a roller coaster. Personally, it doesn't bother me at all unless I have a passenger screaming they're going to die. Well, I was really enjoying that flight until we flew up over the top of Lava Hot Springs. Now, I felt the bump of the thermal, but then something strange happened. We floated up to 20,000 feet where Houston just bubbled around like a cork. So I tried adding engine power, reducing it, nothing worked. Houston, we have a problem. Well, I looked at these conditions. I said, it's going to take all afternoon for us to be able to fly out of this, and I'm getting hungry, and it's a lovely day with eagles soaring high above. It'd be a shame to waste it just sitting in the cockpit. There was only one thing to do. Set the parking brake, safety first, and then I shut off the engine, grabbed my lunch, said a quick little prayer, and climbed out and on top of the wing. So there I was on a wing and a prayer, with my thermos of milk, my box of crackers, and my can of tuna, only it wasn't tuna. In my haste that morning, I packed sardines instead. I hate sardines. But considering the uniqueness of my current situation, I was simply going to have to make do. So as I popped open that can, an eagle swooped in, landed right next to me, and gave me one of those, "Are you going to eat that" looks. Whoa, did you see that? Houston, the eagle has landed. Well, looking at that bird, I realized with his massive 8-foot wingspan, if I added that to Houston's, I might get enough lift to break free. So I gathered up my lunch, slowly slid back into the cockpit, all while under an eagle-eyed stare. So I set the can down, and I put one sardine on top of the wing. The eagle ate it. I grabbed him, and he almost pulled me out of the cockpit. Houston tipped forward into a steep angle, and that sardine can slid right down the nose, plastering its contents all over the propeller. The ding of that can against the propeller was just like a dinner gong, because 25 eagles swooped in and latched onto that propeller just as I was trying to start the engine. Now, with the added weight on the nose, Houston slipped into a fast dive, and I experienced weightlessness. Some spare change floated by, followed by my lidless thermos, trailing a beautiful undulating blob of whole milk. Now, there was no time to cry over that spilled milk because things were about to get complicated. Since the engine couldn't turn the propeller, the plane spun instead. And when those wings hit that milk, Houston became the world's fastest butter churn, instantly covering everything in a fine, greasy mist. Well, I'd like to say that as the centrifugal forces built up, the eagles had to let go. The truth is, they were laughing so hard at my condition, they just couldn't hold on any longer. Well, it was hard to pull out of that dive with buttered controls and throttle stuck wide open, but I did it. And as we came out of the dive, Houston was now passing the speed of sound, and his wings were starting to fold back. This was not good. So I had to radio Salt Lake International Airport. And I called them up and I said I was declaring an emergency and I needed to land now. "You can't, you're going too fast for the approach, you will crash and die." Well, obviously I didn't want to do that. So I started dragging the wheels into the water above the Great Salt Lake. And as I fought to see through that salt spray, I realized I'm scared, I'm hot, I'm buttered, and I am covered in salt. I am not Eddie Rickenbacker. I've become Orville Redenbacher. "You're still too fast. You are going to die." Well, there was only one thing I could do to save my life at this point. So I threw the crackers over my shoulder, while at the same time executing a perfect loop. At the bottom of the loop, we caught up with the crackers. Houston's propeller neatly vaporized them and crumbs that stuck all over those buttered wings. And as I hoped, seagulls in the area answered the clarion call of a free lunch, and 2,000 birds piled onto that plane, slowing us down enough to make a safe landing. Now I'm told that every experience in life teaches you something, and I agree. I think I can sum up this whole tale for you in just one word: butterflies.